Okay, so I think I'm live. I was just setting things up. I gotta get that right. Okay, I think I'm live. I think I'm live now. I think I'm live now. Yes. Hard to be sure sometimes.
Okay, so I think I'm live.
Okay. And I just realized I left the volume on. So I need to get that, and that's gone. So we've got that sorted. Hunky dory. And just get my chat happening now. Hello, Luke and Charlie, early arrivals. Just got to get the little chat window happening. Switch it to live chat and hope I don't miss anything. And hello, Miss Foxification and Musical Aviator and Tendai. Right, okay, I think I'm all sorted and set and happening and all those sorts of shenanigans. Thunderbirds are go, as the saying goes. Well, it goes with the Thunderbirds anyway. They're the only ones who really say it. How y'all doing? Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. Someone who hates the Liberal Party in Australia at the moment. And that is me after the fun of the state election here in my state where I'm living, Victoria, which was absolutely disastrous for the Libs. I was hesitant to try and predict too hard before the election. Thought the most likely result was always return of the Andrews government, and I was hoping they'd increase their majority. And I thought it was very important that the Libs lost conclusively because of the bullshit and the racism that they went with in their campaign, and they got fucking smashed. Final results we probably won't know for a little while, but the short version of the result is they got smashed. Hello, Facts Over Feels. Yes, Miss Foxification. It was a feel-good event. Now, there's a state election in New South Wales in March. Who knows what will happen with that? And the latest we're going to get a federal election is May. Anything could happen because, of course, we had the hilarity today. It's only been a couple of days, but since the results from Saturday night, the Liberals have been eating themselves, which is glorious to watch them just self-destruct in public. And the more calm, rational members of the party are like, okay, everyone, we have to seriously look at what happened here. And other members are like, nothing happened, no, nothing happened, nothing happened, nothing happened. Hi, Raylene. Yes, that is a funny thing. Facts in the upcoming state election in New South Wales, like people put it to the Premier Gladys Bjelkian. So you're going to have the Prime Minister here helping your campaign? And she said, fuck no. She tried to hedge it in a particular way, like, no, it's a state election. We've always done it on a state basis without help, and I'm not going to start now. But the real answer was, fuck no, that guy's poison. So I don't even know what the pundits are saying about the New South Wales election. I don't know what the likely result of that is. But the incredibly likely result of the federal election is an absolute pasting of the government. The Libs out and Labor in. So although, you know, nothing's for sure, there are no absolutes in this world. And someone was, you know, going to say conclusively this will definitely happen. I don't know that you should listen to them. There is a very likely outcome, but that's all it is. It's just likely. And hello, YouTube, talking about the gropey greens. And Heine, hello. Oh, that's right. There's another probe landing on Mars tonight, our time. And this one's designed to dig quite deep, deepest we've dug into another planet, and maybe tell us some mysteries about existence of water on Mars. Who knows? Who knows? If you're a space nerd, it's pretty big news. How are you doing? A wine tour tomorrow? A midweek wine tour. That's partying in style. You know how to lead your best life. But yes. Raylene, that's a good question. How many states will be Lib or other by the federal election? I think it's South Australia and Tasmania. In their most recent elections, the Liberal coalition won government. New South Wales is currently a Liberal government. We don't know what's going to happen in their state election in March. But yeah. you reckon the wine tour is just touring the shelves of the local bottle shop? That's my sort of tour. Getting on a bus with other people who are all getting drunk is not my sort of thing. Look, isn't that what I said? Didn't I say South Australia? I don't even know if I actually said it properly. But South Australia and Tasmania in their most recent elections elected a Liberal government. New South Wales currently has one, and who knows what will happen in their March election. But what's fabulous is, in light of the really disastrous result for the Libs in Victoria on the weekend, they're just going feral on each other, blaming each other, being in denial about things, and they have plenty of time to get even more desperate and freak out and start turning on scummo. Like 6 months of constant bad news in terms of polls and election results is enough time for them to go super feral. And I, for one, am looking forward to it. But yes, it's going to be the Wild West for the next couple months. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, the real stunner today, in the middle of the day, a Liberal MP quit. She said, basically said, had enough of this party. It's all bullshit. Everything's fucked. I can't in good conscience stay a member of this party. I resigned from the Liberal Party. I'm going to go sit on the crossbench as an independent until the next election. And that is psychologically a body blow to the government. In practical terms, it might not have much effect, but psychologically, that is such a big hit to the government. And the hilarious thing was Scummo and a bunch of his sidekicks were being complete arseholes when the newly elected MP, the independent who won the seat vacated by Malcolm Turnbull, which was what officially lost the government their majority status, when she was making her maiden speech, Scummo and a bunch of his sidekicks walked out, which is like rude as fuck and petty and childish. And then him and his deputy, Frydenberg, were having some fucking bullshit press conference about nothing. And as while they were having this pointless presser, one of their MPs resigned. I didn't see the video. I read a report of it. Apparently, like messages started reaching the journos that this resignation was happening. And Scummo's sitting there talking shit about nothing. And the journo's going, what about this resignation? And he's like, what resignation? He goes, it's happening right now. It's like, oh my God, it's like real time wheels falling off the trolley. It was absolutely wild. Music Wavy, you're really getting into Space Force. You think the American probe is really drilling for oil on Mars? Could be. Could be. They do a lot of that sort of thing. It wouldn't take much for particularly Trumpo to start talking about colonizing Mars, but yeah. I see misfoxification. That's the big thing. The hard, unmistakable message from the Victorian election is, and for a lot of by-elections that have happened in the last year, is this ridiculous bullshit lurch to the extreme right does not reflect the majority of the electorate, and you're going to pay a terrible price for it. You got sucked in by these hardline ideologues, and you're going to lose power for a long time because of it. Publicly, at least, they're still in denial. Like, it was hilarious with journalists putting it to Frydenberg in a press, like, you know, well, the Victorian result seems to be a pretty strong rejection of all this right-wing bullshit. And Frydenberg goes, no, I don't accept that. I don't accept that at all. Like, he's going full Principal Skinner saying, what? Am I out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong. And Frydenberg's just going, no, we're not wrong. The entire electorate's wrong. Yeah, I'm not sure how many of them are capable of learning a lesson, quite honestly. Yes, Luke, Melbourne Airport is getting a train line. It's probably going to take a long time. The major capital works, the current state government's gone underway. They've some new city stations being called the City Circle. A lot of construction for that. And he also confirmed a suburban rail loop connecting all the different suburban train lines, which will be friggin' awesome for people who live in the outer suburbs. It's going to let people get around Melbourne via public transport so much more quickly. And this suburban loop is supposedly going to connect to the airport as well. Now, I don't know if they're separately doing an airport link to the city, or if it's part of this big thing. If it's part of this big thing, it could take 20 years to get done. Yeah, even if it's just a straight rail link to the city, that will take a while. But yes, apparently we are going to get a rail link to the airport, which is long overdue. Hello, Megaleech and CrossFitter. Yeah, you do raise a good point, CrossFitter. With mandatory voting, generally speaking, pandering to extremes is less likely to work in your favor. You see in America, often pandering to extremes motivates those extremes to get out and vote, and complacent people don't vote, and so extremes get their way more often. But yeah, with mandatory voting where everyone votes, those ploys to go to the extremes generally can be less effective. Raylene, you want a long promised tram line to Knox? That's not one I'm aware of, honestly. But you know, there are a lot of things I'm not aware of. But yes. Yes, musical aviator. Melbourne international tourists, if they come by train, I think the train would come through Sunshine, which, yeah, you get to see some colourful locals there. I'm not at all sure if the airport rail link would stop anywhere between the airport and the city. I mean, the plans have probably been published. I could probably look it up and find out. But for the moment, I don't know. Yes, that's a general warning for Sunshine. You're right, Miss Foxification. Welcome to Sunshine. Keep your windows closed. Don't make eye contact with the drug dealers. Which one of the drug dealers? Possibly any of them, so just don't make eye contact. I lived in Sunshine for a couple of years. Lived in Footscray for a couple of years. Then moved a bit further out and was living in Sunshine for a while. And then moved a bit closer in and was living in Yarraville. And then I moved to the other side of the city. I've been on the St Kilda side for the last 12 years. So yeah. So Raylene, okay, so there's a tram that goes as far as Burwood, but there's been some talk for at least 20 years to get it to go to Knox. That is a bit overdue, isn't it? Scott, yes, Julie Banks, the MP who resigned. That's full on. We were just talking about that, but I'd forgotten her name. So thanks for the prompt, Julie Banks. She's just gone a huge fuck you to the party machine. She's basically said the party is dysfunctional and needs some serious work, and that's doing this at a point when the government is quite weak. Man, that's a power move. That is a pretty savage move. That is really coming down hard and making a statement. She, she may or may not want to run as an independent at the next election, because apparently she did not get much help from the party in the campaign that she won. This is her first term in Parliament. So maybe she could have some success as an independent as people turn on the Liberal Party. See, that's the double threat that the Liberals have in the next general election. They aren't just in a fight with Labor. They are at very high risk of, like, in their really conservative seats, a conservative independent running against them. That's what happened in Wentworth, Malcolm Turnbull's old seat. So the Libs will be fighting on two fronts, and they are likely to do very poorly. Like, losing seats to independents in a protest vote is not as bad as losing them to Labor, because that sort of protest vote doesn't often carry on to a subsequent election. But honestly, I think they must realise they'll be fighting on two fronts at the next election, fighting Labor and probably in multiple seats fighting Conservative independents, and they are at really high risk of losing a lot of seats, and just being embarrassing how few seats they have in the Parliament. So is that Heine? All right, so the Mars landing has already successfully happened. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Right. Really, the huge thing with, like, the landing is the most dangerous and high risk part of these probes going to Mars, and they have had them fuck up, either burn up in the atmosphere or hit the ground too hard. But of course, there's a really significant time delay. Like, they put everything in place and then it's running on autopilot because it's too far away to actually control manually. So they have to trust that they've built it right and all its auto systems are working. And then they have that period of where they know the descent has started, and it takes 10 or so minutes until they get a confirmation on whether the probe has successfully landed or not. Apparently, tension's quite high. 17 minutes, is it, Scott? Yeah. Yes. Apparently, the nerds at NASA get super tense while they wait for the delay to find out if their probe has successfully landed or burnt up or crashed. So, yeah. YouTube. Oh, yes, we did talk about that in the previous live stream. Yes, Burke Street terrorist attack. That was awful. That guy's a fucking piece of shit. There was an element of it that made me think it was like just a fuckhead who's doing suicide by cop, because he's just waving a knife around and, like, cops are pointing weapons at him saying, put it down. And they're trying to arrest him with non-lethal force. And he just kept going at them with a knife till he was eventually shot. That, to me, speaks to someone who wanted to die. You know, fuck him. But yeah. Hi, Belinda. How are you? Yeah, there's a Flash game that lets you land a Mars probe. I'm sure there is. This Foxification, why didn't they tase him? Good question. That's not a question I've actually seen asked or answered. I don't know if tasers are standard for cops. You'd kind of hope they were. I don't know if the cops had tasers. I don't know what their established procedure is for a clearly extremely dangerous individual like that. So yes, I'm afraid I can't offer any clarity on why they didn't tase, because I didn't even hear a report of them attempting to tase the guy. I don't know if that means they actually didn't have a taser in their equipment. Could be any number of things. Oh yeah, Scott, fuck that guy. I mean, fuck him. Piece of shit. I don't pause for a second and think, oh, did they have to kill him? Fuck, I don't fucking care. They killed him. Fuck him. Miss Foxification, you're right. In fact, what you raise about, you want terrorists to know they do this bullshit, they're going to spend life in jail, no freedom, crappy food, etc. And in fact, you're highlighting they're not martyrs if they're in jail. For anyone stupid enough to go, oh, my interpretation of my religion is if I fucking murder some people and die, I'm a martyr and this is awesome. And so if they spend life in jail, and it would be life, for most of them that's worse than dying. Mitchell, can the GST share change at federal election? I don't even know if the pollies are talking about that, mate. Justin, oh yeah, 19-year-old almost got elected. That's this is why this election was a disaster for the Libs. Like the way the seats were laid out, there's this string of seats along the Frankston rail line. I think they tend to call them the Sandbelt seats. They're the ones that are usually marginal, and there's a big tussle to win them each election. But then there's these eastern suburbs, which is where I live, that are usually extremely safe Liberal, and Labor won all the nominally marginal seats, like with swings of 10%, so they're not marginal anymore, and all these supposed safe seats are within a whisker of getting lost. And one of them, like, Labor put so little effort into winning this seat because they didn't think it was possible. The candidate was a 19-year-old uni student who had about $1,600 in his budget for the campaign, and he came within like 1% of winning the safest of safe Liberal seats. The whole thing's a fucking disaster. All their safe seats have been turned into marginal seats. All the marginal seats have been turned into safe Labor seats. It's a fucking disaster for them. So Safa, yes, to get elected into Parliament, I do believe you have to be 18. Oh, David, Scummo's whining about Labor's tax. I mean, the guy can't buy a clue. It's although there was this hilarious thing, the Victorian Liberal Party president, who's kind of responsible for how fucked their campaign was. He was being interviewed on Sky saying, why did Labor win? And he just went, oh, well, look, they spent all this money on capital works and stuff that people could see, hospitals and level crossings, and it really works. And Labor have basically just cut that interview, put a few title cards in it, like, how is Labor looking after people? And so they've basically got a video that is the state head of the Liberal Party giving this incredible endorsement to Labor. It's fucking hilarious. It's like they're in such a fucking mess at the moment. Oh, we're talking about the food in jail misclassification, the punishment loaf. Look, anyone who thinks anything in jail is any good has never seen the inside of one, basically. It's shit as. And in the prison, if they want to fuck with you, they will. And you don't have to be a maximum security terrorism inmate to get treated badly, although you'd be guaranteed to be treated very badly if you're a maximum security terrorism inmate. If the system, the people running the system decide to fuck you over, they will fuck you over. So there will be nothing pleasant for a jihadi in jail. It would be just shit, like they deserve. Yes. So Safa, oh yes, we're talking about state election coming up in March. I haven't been looking at New South Wales. I haven't been looking at New South Wales media talking about the upcoming state election. What's the vibe? Are people saying, the Liberals are probably going to do well, Labor's going to do well, it'll be close? I actually don't know. Oh, that's right, Safa, that fucking piece of shit who was head of the Labor Party and groped a journalist, and then word somehow got out, and so the Liberals used it as a political tool, which was also a shit thing to do. And but yeah, finally he got rid of. What's bizarre to me, that I think he was the treasurer, the fucking wanker who put out the journalist's name, who never wanted the thing to go public. If he was using it as a political tool, he did it way too early. He should have held on to it until the campaign had started and Labor had done all their advertising with that wanker as the head of the Labor Party, and then fucking crippled him. So on top of that, the treasurer who put that out there being a piece of shit, he's also pretty fucking thick. But anyway, Justin, Sky News is the base of the Liberal Party. Sky News is deranged. They're the ones who've been saying, oh, you know why the Liberals lost in Victoria? They didn't go far enough to the right. Like all the exit polling on the weekend had people saying, no, too much negativity from the Liberals. There's consistent homophobia, the sexism, the climate change denial. We just can't deal with it. Fuck that stuff. And you've got these idiots on Sky News going, you know what we need? We need more extreme right-wing bullshit. We need more racism, more sexism, more homophobia. And it's like, I hope you motherfuckers run with that, because you'll get absolutely smashed at the federal election if you do that. So you're saying the Sunshine series on SBS is good YouTube. I did not see it, no. If it's on demand, I might try and catch it. Yeah. So I assume that's about the suburb Sunshine, is it? Yeah. So it's a doco rather than drama. It's hilarious how much Sky News wants to be Fox News. The big thing working against them is no one watches. It's like the only people who watch it are politicians and journos. Like, their ratings are so fucking bad. I think more people watch my videos than watch Sky News. Oh my gosh. Music I see we're putting the Yanks firing tear gas at the asylum seekers on their border. It's just like, yeah, that, I tell you, my one reaction to that, which it was, of course, disgusting, but I was looking at people on, anti-Trump people going, this is terrible, this is unacceptable, how could you possibly do that? I mean, Trump and his mob did that because it will make them more popular. With the rabid base that supports Trump, they love this shit. fucking tear gassing refugees, including babies. They fucking love this shit. So what? The people who don't like it already didn't like Trump. The people who like Trump like him even more now. Yeah, it's just a fucking abomination, basically. Oh, wow, you want to bring up really cheery stuff, Safa? The Russians seizing Ukrainian boats. Yes, that's bad. A little bit of conflict on the ocean. I assume Russia's saying the Ukrainian boats crossed into Russian territory, and there was an exchange of fire, and then Russia seized the boats. Just like Putin just saying to the world, "Yeah, fuck you. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Fuck you." Yeah, it's incredibly disturbing what he's doing. This falsification is saying, oh yeah, Trump's existing base could easily win him another election 2020, but the midterm election, which showed a record turnout for a midterm, it's like the most people they'd had vote in like ages. I was going to say, you know, virtually forever. It was all sorts of records for things, and the Democrats are like energized now. Like they won across the country something like 40 seats in the Congress. Like it was really quite huge. If they can leverage that, they would stand a chance of fucking destroying them. Oh, YouTube, Sunshine is fictional. Is that the one that Anthony LaPaglia is in it? Is that one? I feel like I saw that. Well, I didn't see the show. I saw ads for it. Yes, Raylene, we detain our illegal immigrants. We imprison asylum seekers. We imprison refugees running away from wars that our foreign policy or foreign policy we support is responsible for. And we imprison and torture them. We've been called out repeatedly by the United Nations and other rights groups saying, what you're doing there is basically a crime against humanity. Scott, if you, okay, I get what you're saying there. You reckon the Democrats won't do well if they have Nancy Pelosi as leader of the House. I think you may be being influenced by, and this is what happens, everyone has a vested interest. A very interesting point to me was, you know, the young Democratic Socialist, was it Victoria Ocasio-Cortez? You know, she's the young radical. She's the face of the future. She's actively supporting Nancy Pelosi. She's saying the people trying to get rid of her are from the conservative wing of the Democratic Party. While I'm not a fan at all of the Democrats' old guard, and the ones I see mainly there are Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. Schumer in particular is fucking useless. Yeah, when the young guns are supporting Nancy Pelosi, that kind of seems like their best bet. I mean, and honestly, it looks like they've done some sort of deal. Like Pelosi saying, "Okay, you're a first-term congressperson, and you'll normally get nothing, but if you back me, I'll make sure you get on some important committees." So good old Ocasio-Cortez, she's shaping up for a big future. And then, of course, the guy who didn't actually win against Ted Cruz, Beto O'Rourke, he's getting talked up as a potential presidential candidate for 2020. See, again, someone like him, someone young and charismatic who's already inspired quite a bit of enthusiasm in voters. You know, he could be good for the Democrats. Good old Julie Banks. it's hard not to talk about her. I've been talking about her since I started this, basically. Yeah, it's absolutely legendary. Someone just going, no, you know what? I've been with the Liberal Party since the last election, and it's a fucking train wreck, and I can't deal with it anymore. Fuck you guys, I'm out. So yeah. Safa, I did not hear that story. You're saying the Libs trying to settle refugees in Cambodia. I thought their big thing was refusing to settle them anywhere. Like New Zealand's been saying for ages they'd take the people off Manus. But the government's so locked into their bullshit, they're not doing anything. Megalich, you're saying a right-wing friend heard that Hillary may run again. Look, she may. I think it would be a really big mistake, and I think your friend is right that she may. She's at least considering it. I think both Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders would be making a big fucking mistake if they ran. It's like their time has passed. They need to make way for someone else. Raylene, how do you let anyone in the community who hasn't had their identity officially verified? If you're talking again about the asylum seekers, verification could have been done years ago, but the government policy was, let's torture some of the most desperate people in the world in the chase for racist votes. No matter how conservative you wanted to be with the vetting of the asylum seekers, it could have been done years ago. They made a conscious decision to make no effort to process. Like they categorically said, these people will never be allowed in Australia. So it was just political, just evil in the name of politics, just imprisonment and torture of people for political gain. It's fucking sick. God, they're still talking about Coles Minis. Don't they have something else now, or is that Woolworths with the Christmas cards? I don't know. But yes, was that Bobo? 80 for PM. 80 in Parliament would be pretty goddamn funny, quite honestly. Because I just think, like, okay, no, not PM, because he'd have to be in a political party. I think he'd be in as an independent, and I think he would make a point of sitting too close to someone and just like talking to them, talking to their face, and being about this far from their face when he talked to them. He would just have a lot of fun making people uncomfortable. Look, how the cat's going is good. Minzy was here earlier when I was getting ready. It's like, and she jumped right up here as if she knew the live stream was coming, but then she disappeared. Justin, I'd have fun in Parliament too. Just telling people I fucking hated them. They need to shut the fuck up. Especially you get in Senate, you get an 8-year term in the Senate. Yeah, you just get in there, and then you can do whatever you fucking want, and you're getting paid. Man, I'd have a great time. I'd have an awesome time. YouTube, you're genuinely hanging out for the Coles Minis to come back in January. Look out. Look out. Aggro Pixie, do I think Hanson will wake up to herself, or are the expectations high? No, Hanson is fully awake to herself. Hanson's fucking garbage. The one who I think could turn around would be Jackie Lambie. Jackie Lambie says some stupid shit, but she has some genuine commitments and genuine concern for people. And I think Jackie Lambie could be turned around on some of the bizarre xenophobic things she says, and brought around to, hey, yeah, you know, you have strong views. You're entitled to strong views, but maybe, you know, don't be quite so fucking full on at some people who don't deserve it. But no, there's no changing Hanson. she's garbage through and through. Worse than that, she's incredibly self-centered garbage. Because don't forget, she's not in One Nation. She's in Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party. That's its official name. It's Pauline's. It's no one else's. So, no, Hanson's a write-off. Hanson is utter irredeemable garbage. But yeah, from people who've said wacky things that I reckon, you know, you could maybe talk around, I'd say Jackie Lambie. Until recently, I would have said even, you know, Bob Catter is capable of decency, but then he backed that fuckhead Fraser Anning with his straight up white supremacist Nazi bullshit. Eventually it got to be too much for him and he disowned Fraser Anning. But when he came out and goes, oh, with Fraser Anning, 110%, I was like, well, fuck you, man. I believe you're saying Scummo got the shits in question time, said Labor. Of course they were gloating. Man, he's on the ropes. Labor are going to fucking go him. And he can put all the front he likes and say, oh, it wasn't Bill Shorten who won the election. But he knows he is like fucking gone for all money. And when was it, Julie Banks, when she resigned today, that was such a body blow for the Liberal Party and Scummo specifically. That was a huge, loud, no confidence vote. That was like, fuck you, man. That is going to hurt the Liberals bad. And it's just, you know, they're seen by the public as being incompetent, a bunch of clowns. Or was it people have started to call them Muppets, and Scummo's getting portrayed as Fozzie Bear, which I think is a slur on the Muppets. But yeah, there's that guy who got in trouble for accosting Scummo, yelling at him, calling him a fucking Muppet. And he got fined $500 or something, I don't know, $5,000, something like that. Yeah, you shouldn't shout at politicians in public things and act threatening, because they get thinking, oh, that's a good question, Justin. Who's the most high-profile Liberal I want to lose their seat? Dutton, no fucking question. I want Dutton to not just lose, but to have at least a 10% swing against him. Dutton is fucking garbage. He is just garbage shoved inside a badly stitched up human skin suit that I think was flayed off asylum seekers and stitched into that horrible misshapen thing we see in the Parliament. So Dutton, I want to go down in fucking flames. Well, Ms. Foxification, the only thing the Libs can do is say it's those ultra-conservatives who destabilised everything and pushed us in this direction that we now realise the majority of the country doesn't want. Because that would be true. Not only should they do it, it would be true to say, oh, our problems were with this lurch to the right. But at the moment, they don't show any sign of being able to do that. Raylene, you want Julie Bishop gone as well? God, she's like, and I've never been a fan of hers, but she's like the least objectionable one they've got left. I mean, of course, it would be hilarious if any high-profile one, like, you know, obviously the funniest ones would be the Prime Minister and his deputy. So, like, if, you know, if Scummo or Frydenberg went or had a massive swing against them. But definitely top of my list, people I want to see gone, and it's extremely likely it will happen, is I want Dutton gone. Tendai, Dutton's definitely a lizard. It's not a person. It's definitely just a human skin with something stuffed inside it. He's just horrible. Sorry, I just saw that you said YouTube that your friend was taking a bus tour in Paris and Pauline Hanson was also on the buses of Paris. Wow, what are the odds? Wow. Aurelian, who's the asshole in the environment portfolio? Is that Frydenberg? Or it used to be Frydenberg and now it's someone else. I don't think. Yeah, Safa, Howard losing his seat in the election when he was Prime Minister is fucking gold. And he brought that on himself. He hung around too long. He went back on deals. He should not have been. He had made a deal with Costello that he'd retire and let Costello be PM. And then he refused to do it because he was convinced he was the best hope for the party, and fucking blew up in his face. He deserved it. He could have gone out a winner, but he went out a loser. You know, so fuck him. I like that music, Aviator. You were doing a Google search for Dutton, and the first suggestion was Dutton Garage, and you thought it was Dutton Garbage. Yeah, that should be the top result for him. Dutton Garbage. He really is. I explained to you, sorry, talking about Julie Bishop's death stare, which I haven't seen her do lately, but funny as fuck. For those who don't know, she has this laser gaze death stare, which is truly frightening to behold. Yeah. Mitchell, can we kick out Melissa Price as Environment Minister? Is she the federal Environment Minister? She is not familiar to me. She's not at all familiar to me. And yes, Miss Foxification, we need the racist potato in the compost. Although he's so toxic, I suspect we couldn't actually use him for compost. He is that bad. Yeah, no, I want him gone. He's definitely the top of the list. And then basically just as many of them as possible, really. Just want a lot of them gone. I want them to suffer a really crushing defeat. So, I mean, I think I looked this up last time, and I don't remember the exact numbers. Let me go Australian Parliament. Do a little search. Let me see. Wikipedia will give me the breakdown. So there's 150 MPs in the lower house, House of Reps, and the government's now down to 73. And Labor has 69. Nice. So you need let's see, 150 seats in the lower house. To have an outright majority, you have to have 76 seats. Government only has 73 now with the resignation today. Wikipedia has been updated very quickly. But so the Labor opposition only has to pick up, 7 seats to have a majority. And geez, that's like the most. You would have to be a diehard supporter of the government to think that won't happen. Nothing's sure in this world. There is absolutely nothing sure. But if we look at the government having 73 seats now and Labor having 69 now, the most extravagant predictions I've seen have the government losing more than 40 seats. So basically, the most extravagant ones would have Labor with about 110 seats and the Liberals with about, well, the coalition with about 30 seats. So embarrassing. That would be such an embarrassing disparity. And they know that's the risk. There's definitely not a done deal, but they know the risk in the next election, and it's very, very real. There is a very real risk that the numbers after the next election will be so lopsided, it will be absolutely humiliating. Like I said, it doesn't have to be. Labor only has to pick up 6 seats to win. And I don't think there are many people betting that they won't. But, you know, in this bloody world, you're a fool to say you know something for sure, because so much unpredictable and unpredicted things have happened. What's that? Someone new? Politics, number one enemy of intelligent conversation. Wow, that is a really involved username. Fun fact is saying Ocasio-Cortez is a social democrat. I believe she calls herself a democratic socialist. Yeah, she's in American, like, God, in Australian terms, she's in the mainstream. Like, yeah, sure, if she was in the Labor Party, she'd be in the left faction, but nothing she says would be regarded as radical in Australian politics. You know, she'd be on the left faction of the Labor Party, and that's it. She wouldn't even be the most radical person in the Labor Party. Oh, sorry, Justin, you're saying the next election there will be 151 seats. And could Goldstein fail? Whose seat is Goldstein? Federal seat Goldstein. That auto-completed. Lots of people must want to know it. Don't want to know from the AEC. What does Wikipedia tell us about Goldstein? That's Tim Wilson. Okay, so that's been Liberal for Yonks. Okay, no, okay. I'm looking at where it is geographically in Melbourne. It could absolutely go. Now, what's the thing? Okay, at the last election, Libs got 56% of the vote. Like, that's a huge win. That's a really clear win. 56% of the primary vote, and Labor only got 22% of the primary vote, but the Greens got 16% of the vote. Now, if the Liberal vote drops below 50%, so if there's a swing against the Liberals of 7% or more, then it goes to preferences, and then they could be in trouble. Now, we looked at all the recent elections, by-election, state election here, a swing of 10% against the Liberals is not at all impossible. It would be a really embarrassing loss. But when you see, you know, it's after the Liberal candidate, it's a tussle between Labor and the Greens. If the swing in that seat is more than 7%, so the Liberal vote goes under 50%, it goes to preferences, and then they could be in trouble. So that's Tim Wilson. I reckon he's not sleeping that well at night. I don't reckon anyone in the Liberal Party is sleeping well at night at the moment. Like, Scummo was full of bluster in the Parliament. He was so full on. And like, oh, Labor's too cocky. Oh, look at them gloating over there. They didn't vote for you, Bill Shorten. I'm more popular than you, Bill Shorten. But he can put all the bluster he likes in public. But we all know, man, in private, he knows he's fucked. He knows he's in so much trouble. The next 6 months is probably going to be really difficult. We have no indication whatsoever that he or his government have the competence to improve their lot. And we have every indication that the electorate is going to turn more and more against them. I mean, like, Jesus, how many polls have they lost in a row now for preferred government? It's like, you know, it's a fucking shit show. So I think Scummo is in for a tough 6 months. I think it's going to be all bad news. I think the odds are so heavily against him getting any good news in the next 6 months. And then it's incredibly likely just cops a massive pounding on election night. Like, yeah, almost definitely the Australian electorate is going to get a big old strap on and say, hey, Scummo, have you ever heard the term pegging? And it's just going to end badly for him. But, you know, that's something to look forward to. And, yeah, look, okay, if it doesn't work out that way, if they squeak in or, yeah, heaven forbid, improve their margins, then Liberal Party supporters will rightly get to gloat at me, and because I'll be depressed. I won't be happy. If they retain government, I won't be happy. It's really unlikely. It's definitely possible. It's just unlikely. I think, you know, yeah, Raiders, Scummo's dead man walking, definitely. I think if you looked at most likely outcomes, the most likely is Labor wins with a decent majority. Second most likely is Labor wipes the fucking floor with them. And then the third most likely is the Libs win. So I think, looking at the opinion polls and the way all by-elections have gone and how the Victorian state election went this time, anyone who doesn't see it that way or who says it's not that way is either a shill and is lying, or is a hopeless optimist. Like I said, it's definitely not outside the realms of possibility the government gets returned. It's just not very likely. But yeah. If I was to push likely scenarios, I think the most likely is Labor wins with a decent majority. So they pick up, like I said, they have to pick up 7 to win. So say they pick up 15 to 20. So they've got, like, you know, a 10-seat majority. That, I think that's the most likely. That's the most likely that a solid win. You know, they're in there, they've got a margin, it's a solid win. But yeah, I think the second most likely is they absolutely slaughter them. Like, the Libs lose like 40 seats or more. And there are a few projections that show that is possible. I think the Libs winning is only the third most likely outcome. And like I said, I could easily be proved wrong. And if I get proved wrong, all the Conservatives get to gloat at me and say how wrong I was. Dead Viney, we're going to go full commie? No, man, it's going to be Bill fucking Shorten. I'm no fan of his, quite honestly. But I think it's going to be like a centrist Labor government, like a Hawke Keating Labor government. Centrist to even right-wing Labor government. I don't think they're going to do anything radical. Shorten's not a very radical person, and he's not proposing any radical policies. But, you know, if we can fucking calm down with the right-wing extremist bullshit we've had for the last couple of years, that would be cool. Oh, YouTube, have I done Christmas shopping yet? Fuck no. I haven't even thought about it. Safa, I don't reckon we'll get a royal commission into Liberal corruption, but I do think we'll get a federal corruption watchdog. I'm very interested in how much Labor is pushing it, because they must think they're squeaky clean. Because historically, honestly, neither party has been very good on the corruption side of things. Like, hilariously, this is way back when I lived in New South Wales. Nick Greiner became Liberal Premier of the state, and he put in an independent commission against corruption to go after Labor's dodges. And Labor had been in power for a while, and they had been dodgy as fuck. But the hilarity was what happened first was when his coalition sidekicks, the Nats, got their snouts in the trough. They got up to all this dodgy shit while he had this independent commission investigating. So they kept finding out stuff about the National Party, and Greiner's going, no, you're meant to be fucking looking into Labor. And they ended up getting a finding against Greiner that said, okay, it was with some cushy deal done for a road toll system. And they said, okay, you may not have been acting in a corrupt way, but that deal you did with something that you ended up on the board of meets the technical definition of corruption. Like, they were basically saying, we're not saying you took money, but by definition, you should not have done that. And he got caught in his own fucking thing. It was really bizarre. See, Raiders, I'm with you. I'd always been under the impression neither side wanted much oversight from an independent corruption. But Labor's been pushing really hard. We should have a federal anti-corruption body. I thought, Jesus, have you guys been keeping your noses clean or something? Because historically, they haven't been that good at keeping their noses clean. But they're all about that. No, let's have a federal anti-corruption body. I was like, okay, careful what you wish for, guys. Because there's just something about politics invites corruption. What's it? It's the same. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Raiders, Bronwyn fell out of the chopper. I mean, oh my God, Bronwyn Bishop, how much is she fucking fleecing the taxpayers for all these fucking expenses? Good God. Yeah, Justin, the New South Wales ICAC got Nick Greiner, the guy who set it up. It investigated him and said, and he wasn't prosecuted or anything, but yeah. Was that Bobo? You went to do your Christmas shopping, but people are annoying. Yes, I agree with you. I'm 100% on board with you there. Trying to do shopping and then you realize you're among people, and people are as annoying as fuck. There's no getting around it. Oh, Tendai, what if I had unlimited power? I would also have unlimited corruption at that point. See, if you literally have unlimited power, you don't need to be corrupt because you just control everything. Man, I would be such a tyrant. Initially, as I've said this before, if I had supreme power, initially I'd only deal with bad people. But within a week or two, I'd be up to people who just piss me off. Yeah, like you ever get those feelings where you're so pissed off at people, you're just like, you know what? I don't think Thanos took it far enough. Infinity War, Thanos wanting you to do the snap and wipe out half the universe randomly. To me, I'm like, A, fuck random. B, fuck half. I reckon two-thirds of this planet's population would be in danger. I reckon one-third would be gone in the first week. And then I might slow down a bit. But I reckon fully two-thirds of the Earth's populations would be in serious trouble if I had that sort of power. Oh yeah, Raiders, supposed leader of free world is corrupt. Trump is so fucking corrupt. It's bizarre. He's so blatantly, openly corrupt. It just does my head in. Aureline, you're an online shopper. Yes, I might do that. I don't have to do that much. You know, again, my kids, they're such mad gamers. They probably just want me to put money on their Steam account, or there might be a particular game. You know, there's no new gaming platforms. You know, we got a was it last Christmas or the Christmas before? We got a PS4 and a Switch. I hadn't bought. Oh no, I was going to say I hadn't bought a new gaming thing. Yeah, but we actually had a Wii and a Wii U, I think. And the most recent PlayStation we had was the PlayStation 2. And then, yeah, one Christmas, yeah, he just went, yeah, let's do it. Get a PlayStation 4 and a Switch. Both really good. I'm not playing anything at the moment, actually. Really tempted to play Zelda Breath of the Wild again on the Switch. It's so good. 10 funny or 13. You think Wee Wee is funny? Wee Wee is funny. Tendo, which version of Yakuza's on Steam? I had Yakuza 0 on. In fact, that's what Young Was Angry got me Yakuza 0 for Christmas last year because she thought I'd like it. And I did. It was fucking hilarious. It was such a funny game. The sense of humor in that game was just amazing. And the fighting in it was good too. And I didn't mind the story. Yeah, I enjoyed Yakuza 0 a lot. Oh, yeah, Loogie, definitely getting Red Dead 2. I get around to it. I mean, I just finished Mafia 3, which I bought ages ago and then didn't play. And the same time I bought that, I bought God of War, and I started it but didn't finish. So I feel like I finished Mafia 3. I feel like I should finish God of War before I get Red Dead 2. But I'm definitely getting Red Dead 2. No two ways about it. So, okay, so Yakuza 0 and Kiwami's coming out on Steam. Yeah. Yeah, if they bring out like another, like a new Yakuza game, I might get that because I really enjoyed Yakuza 0. It was so much fun. Just the mix of extreme violence with really, really bizarre humor, like very, very Japanese humor. It was so weird and it was so funny. And yeah, I really, really did enjoy the fight mechanics. Learning the moves on that and getting in all the street fights all the time. It was a lot of fun. Safa, what about Diablo mobile game? Look, Diablo 2 was one of my favorite games when it came out. I never played Diablo 3. Everyone ragged on it. I don't know. Depends what they do with it. I don't know what the gameplay. It's just announced, isn't it? It's not actually released. The Diablo mobile game. I mean, I'd wait till I saw what the gameplay was. I don't mind mobile games. Oh, Alien, they're saying bats are falling from trees because of the heat wave in Queensland. I saw today virtually all of Queensland is racing towards critical fire risk. Like today, everywhere's like high to extreme, and it's just going to get worse. So if there's not some relief, like if there's not some significant rain, I think probably by the end of next week, virtually all of Queensland would be a critical bushfire risk. So yeah. Oh, Fallout 76. We're going to rag on Fallout 76 again. I've never played a Fallout game at all, but I have seen everyone ragging on Fallout 76 and how they're already putting discounts on it, and people who paid full price for it are really pissed off. But that's the way it goes, I guess. So yeah, we've got extreme heat in Queensland. New South Wales is apparently going to get pummeled by extreme storms. Like the entire coastal region of New South Wales is going to get smashed by extreme storms. I don't know how much of that's going to travel down to us. I think we're all fucked this summer, actually. I think by the end of summer, the entire fucking country will be having such a bad bushfire season. Yeah, no, I think this is not the sort of thing I like to predict, because this is not something I want to happen. But when you saw the weather in the northern summer and the fires in various parts of the northern hemisphere, most recently the really bad ones in California, fuck man, I think we're going to have such a bad bushfire season. Ooh, blend to 35C in Brisbane. Yep, that's a yeah, and snow down south. We're having snow. The high country in Victoria had snow last week. There was snow in Tas. The extremes of the weather are just bizarre. Justin, that's a weird one. Howard called Victoria the Massachusetts of Australia. What does that even mean? What point is he trying to make there? Is Massachusetts like an enclave of lefties in the US? I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's no two ways about it that currently Victoria politically is the most progressive state in Australia. But yeah. Yes, Music AVS, that's right. Sydney's got flash flood warnings. Safra, I don't think he was referring to hillbillies. There's a few of them about. Oh yeah, Lukey, I saw already the snow's kicking in the US, which is not that unusual for the end of November. Heine is saying Colbert called Massachusetts gay Israel, play on gay in Israel. So saying there's a lot of gay and Jewish people there. I know. I just remember Homer Simpson calling it Taxachusetts. Because generally, if you have a progressive government that's doing a lot of public works, you tend to have higher taxes as well. And Victoria does have higher taxes than some other states. Fucking worth it, though. I have no interest in living anywhere else in this country, and I have no interest in living anywhere else apart from this country. So I don't mind visiting other places. I just don't want to live anywhere else. I'm going to... should I make myself a drink and get some ice? Ooh, actually, I have an idea of what I might do for a drink. I'm going to try something. All right, get some ice. No, I won't do that. I'll do this. This. Here's my lemonade over here. Right. And I'm going to make myself a little tropical drink. And for that, this, which I got from Costco, was on special. Spiced rum. All right. Make a drink here. Bit of lemonade in. Right, what everyone's saying. Yeah, just glad about it. The completely normal weather we're having. Queensland on fire, snow in Tassie, and extreme storms in New South Wales. So yeah, it was the thing. Extremes of weather are our new normal. Whether it's on the icy stuff in winter or blistering heat in summer or storms. Basically, extreme weather is the new normal. You're going to keep hearing these things like, we used to refer to this as a once in 100 years, and now it's happening every other year. It's just what's normal now, which is pretty fucking evil, really. So, some tropical juice. We're saying, Bobo, you lived 10 years in Queensland, now you're back in Vic, yeah, and education and health and everything seem better. They are. Yeah, or dental, yes. No. Basically, yes, services here are better, definitely. Yes, Lukey, I know the Kraken, the black spiced rum. The only reason I got the Captain Morgan is it was on special at Costco. So it's 1 liter of spiced rum. Good for making cocktails. I just made myself a little fruity beverage with some tropical juice. Lion Spider, you're saying, yeah, your experience with the Queensland public health. Oh my God. That doesn't taste alcoholic at all, and it probably really is. Yeah, 35%. They're not mucking about. Aggro, seems like fuck you is in full swing. In relation to what? Exactly. Belinda, you left Melbourne for Brisbane 3 years ago. I couldn't do it. I've actually got family up in Brisbane, a sister and I think my brother's back up there. And I've visited there, but no, I couldn't live there. Hi, Micro, how's it going? I mean, I grew up in the country and lived 10 years in Sydney and now 20 years in Melbourne. Melbourne's where it's at, as far as I'm concerned. Oh, Jesus, Justin, you live in Canberra. I'm so sorry. AIDSy's from Canberra. If he was here, he would commiserate with you about living in Canada. Canberra. This Voxification. Need a federal election, Liberal failure election culture. Yeah, someone was suggesting to me on the socials that the cocktail should be like Liberal tears. So something salty. So, maybe something with a salted caramel or maybe, some variant on a margarita with a salted rim on the glass, something like that. Music Eddie, ex-girlfriend moved from Melbourne to Sydney with a hubby in 2010. Is moving to Brisbane next year. Jesus, that's fucking retrograde. It was you, Miss Foxification. I actually thought it was you, but I wasn't 100% sure. Oh, Jesus, Lion Spider, your brain's communication to your lungs failed, putting you at high risk of cardiac arrest. God damn. Jesus. So the doctors in Queensland weren't supposed to help you if you had a cardiac arrest. Fucking hell. Jesus. Whereas AIDSy has doctors falling over him, giving him millions of dollars in care because he's a weird freaking anomaly and they want to know what's going on with him. I swear to God, that I think I've discovered my summer drink. I mean, this is a very tall one. Normally I have cocktails. That's mostly lemonade and pineapple coconut juice, but with spiced rum in it. So yes. Graphics, you've done New South Wales, Queensland, Northern Territory and South Australia. And Vic's home. Okay, yep. Michael, what's about our PM? Our PM is a dead man walking, quite honestly. He is, for his party, which has been in government for, how long have they been? Like 7 years now? They've been in government for 7 years, but he is the, he's the third prime minister they've had, and he's like the third in 4 years. He's a dead man walking. Like, I'm joking, but I reckon we will hear talk really soon. Definitely, we've got 6 months in the lead up to the election. We will definitely hear talk of people saying, "Ugh, he's a bad leader. We should get rid of him." And I don't think they will. They would be insane to do it. But they've done a bunch of stupid stuff. So I reckon they're gonna the sitting government is just gonna tear themselves apart in the next couple of months, and I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna love it so much. But yeah, the current prime minister is fucking dead man walking. Absolutely. Tender, yes. I'm gonna put the lime into coconut and drink around. That's what I should do. I should get some lime juice. I've got some lime quarter, some really good lime quarter, like not Cotty's Cooler, one from a cocktail shop. See, why wasn't I thinking it? Should put the lime in the coconut and drink it all up. Definitely. Lion Spider, you say sarcasm for Bring Back Tony Abbott. You realise there is a chunk of both the Liberal Party and the conservative media commentariat who say really it should be Tony Abbott. They've got no clue. They've got no clue how poisonous he is to the electorate. They think he should come back. It's ridiculous. Miss Foxcation, I think I have some Bigford's cordial, actually. Mitchell, am I going to start a party? I swear, man, the temptation's there. You know, it's getting, you do the whole thing. Go for the Senate with these ridiculous voting rules they have. Pull one of these preference switches. I mean, I reckon I could rally a bit of support by just going out there and being, you know, my incredibly aggressive, outspoken stuff. Just like, well, I'm never going to bullshit you. I'll tell you that much for free. I reckon I'd get a bit of support. Right, it's like Peter Credler's biz. Man, she's so fucking out of touch. Yeah, I mean, whatever happened? I thought they were finally going to come clean and admit that Abbott and Credlin were shagging, because they obviously were. It was so obvious. Yeah, she's never forgiven people for offing Abbott. It's ridiculous. As micro, everyone likes to join in on these. Oh, Bobo. I mean, the idea of Dutton in the top job, like, again, for me personally, in terms of having material and being able to go off, great. I personally would benefit a lot from Dutton having, if he'd have won the ballot to be Prime Minister. For the country, an absolute disaster. But for me personally, pretty good, honestly. But you know, I'll take one for the country. The country got spared. I love what Tony Windsor said. The country independent, because he thinks ScoMo's a piece of shit, and he actually said the one saving grace of the Morrison Prime Minister is it saved us from Prime Minister Dutton. Because Dutton as Prime Minister would have been a disaster for Australia. Morrison will just be a failure. And it's like, oh, burn. Musical Aviator, you're from the Shire. Went to the same school as ScoMo's kids. Charlie, you raise a good point. If I called it the Angry Party, people might think Angry Anson was involved, which would only work in my favor, I think. People love celebrities. They thought it was a celebrity. My personal favorite, this is not something I'm ever going to do, but what I think would be the funniest thing if, like, I did run for the Senate or whatnot, and being an angry party and being outspoken, be the right-wing trolls from the internet trying to discredit me by saying how awful I was on the internet, because there was a bunch of videos with me calling people cunts and saying they're fucked and I hope something terrible happens to them. I tell you what, this much for free, I wouldn't back down. I said, no, seriously, if I ever called someone a cunt or a piece of shit and said I wanted something really bad to happen to them, I fucking meant it. You know, I'm sick of this bullshit of like, oh no, I can't say anything. Man, I'm going to say what I say when I want to say it, basically. There's that recent thing, some Green supporters getting upset at Labor in the lead up to the election. Ooh, Labor's doing dirty tricks. Yeah, dude, that's politics. I don't defend some of the dumb and nasty shit Labor did to undermine the Greens, but acting like this ridiculous fantasy world where bad things won't happen, that's just ridiculous. Greens set themselves up as direct opposition to Labor. Their goal was to take votes from disenfranchised Labor voters. Man, that's a fucking declaration of war. And Labor's not holding anything back. So there's a thing, only a week or two before the election, someone who was a staffer for the Greens had a bit of a salty Twitter account. It wasn't under his name, but apparently everyone knew who it was. It's a bit of a salty account where he'd say pretty salty things, and Labor outed him and went, oh, does the Greens support their staffer doing this, blah, blah, blah. And the Greens folded like a cheap suit and said, well, it's his private account, nothing to do with the Greens, but we can't allow that. And, you know, he's offered his resignation, we've accepted it. And Greens supporters were really up in Labor's grill about that, saying that was a shitty thing to do, you shouldn't have done. And I agree, it was a shitty thing for Labor to do and they shouldn't have done it. But what the Greens did was worse. The Greens should have just stuck their ground and said, oh, fuck you, he's a shit poster. That doesn't mean anything. I don't know if you're old and stupid and don't know how the internet works, but that guy was a shit poster. It's not about who he really is. It's not about what he really thinks. It's certainly not about the Greens. It's just him having a bit of fun being a dickhead on the internet. That's, you know, if you don't understand the internet, fuck off. So while the Greens supporters were really shitty at Labor, saying, oh, the really shitty thing to do, and they're right, the Greens were worse. The Greens should not have turned on him. The Greens should have stuck with him and said, oh, you know what, Labor, fuck you and your dirty tricks. The guy's just a shit poster. Just get over it. Lugie, you think you're on an NSA watch list for saying the USA specializes in corruption. You are not wrong. You are not wrong. But also, I mean, you look at, you know, it's impossible to not talk about Trump as much as I want to, but he does 10 things every week that historically any one of them would have ended a politician's career, would have, you know, ruined a president, and none of it has any effect on him whatsoever. And it's absolutely surreal. And a big part of it is just don't fold. Don't fold under pressure. And you know what? People will get distracted. Something else will happen. People will get distracted and they'll forget about that thing. There's an interesting little subset of that. Trevor Noah, comedian who's the host of The Daily Show these days. When he was first announced as the new host of The Daily Show, a lot of people went through his Twitter history and he had a lot of really shitty jokes in there, like really misogynist, obnoxious jokes. Are you going to make a late appearance, Mimsy? You just got shoved in the door? No? What? Yes? Going to come over here? Mimsy may or may not make an appearance in this last one. Come up here. Come up in your little home. What are you doing? Yes, you want to. You know your internet fans are waiting for you. But yeah, so when Trevor Noah first got made head of The Daily Show, people found this shit in his Twitter stream and he just went, yes, you know, I've tried for years to be a stand-up comedian, and that occasionally meant I made some really failed attempts at jokes and they were really shitty, and I don't disagree with anyone who says that was really shitty. It was really shitty. And that went away. And then he's supposed to be having a tour of Australia sometime soon, I think, doing a live stand-up show. And he a lot of Aboriginal activists had the shits at him because a couple of years ago he had this thing in his routine, and for some reason he was making these really shitty jokes about Aboriginal women, and they were really fucked. And people saying like, oh, you know, you shouldn't support Trevor Noah because of that. You know, he should make a big apology and whatnot. And I don't know, when he got interviewed, the one thing he didn't do was apologize, because he said, look, I agree with people who, you know, say those shit jokes. They're in the routine a couple of years ago. I actually acknowledge they were shit jokes and I don't do them anymore. People say, well, will you actually apologize? And he basically said, what's the point? What's the point in apologizing? There's going to be a new topic of outrage next week. I think the important thing is I've acknowledged those are shitty jokes and I don't do them anymore. The whole idea of trying to coerce me into doing an apology is pointless, because in a week everyone will have forgotten. And he's completely right. He never let the crowd dictate what he did. And rightly or wrong, I'm not saying he's right. Personally, if I if I did something really shit and recognized that was shit, I think I'd apologize. I think I'd go, look, this was my thinking at the time. Since then, people have told me this, this, and this. I was completely fucking wrong. That was shit. I'm really sorry I did it. And he didn't. I don't really agree with him, but it worked. He was absolutely right. He just said, what's the point in apologizing? There'll be a different outrage next week, and the world will move on. And he was absolutely right. I'm trying to think of, because it's like a line I always say, a joke, it's on most social media. If I've done something that pissed you off, I did that on purpose. So the idea of someone saying, oh, I was really offended by a thing you did, you should apologize. I'm like, if you're offended, that was almost definitely deliberate. So I'm definitely not apologizing because I fucking wanted to piss you off, because there's something about you that pisses me off. But there was one incident, and this was years ago. When I used to do videos with Mistress M, and we did one. She met someone. She's trying to get, because we were often doing videos about sex and relationships, and we did 2 videos looking at transgender issues. One was an interview with a transgender woman that Emma did, and the other one was she knew a guy who ran a brothel that specialized in transgender sex workers. And the advertising line they used to advertise the brothel, this is a legal brothel in Victoria, and the advertising line they used for the brothel was chicks with dicks and silicon tits. And so she went to the brothel, and the interviews weren't on video, but she went and talked to both the workers and the people who ran the brothel, and to get an understanding of what it was like there and what the clientele was like. So she was trying to be light about it, and when she introduced the video, she used this line that was the advertising line for the brothel, and said, what sort of guy goes to a brothel to pay to have sex with chicks with dicks and silicon tits? And a reasonable number of transgender people got really upset with that. And I had a few discussions, and I was like, that's the advertising the brothel uses. Which one? But it got this stage where it was upsetting people that we didn't want to upset. And it was like, okay, if I've upset someone I meant to upset, I'm 100% behind it. But it's like, this has gone the wrong way. So I actually made the video private because it was not working the way it was meant to. And not an apology as such, but it was like, okay, if this is upsetting people it wasn't meant to upset, I don't want that to happen. So yeah, it's not there anymore. So I'm just seeing a fun conversation in Lion Spider. Did you see the ginger nut in question Sydney last year? It was you who gave Steve a pack of ginger nut biscuits. What were you saying, Bjori? Oh, Steve Hofstetter. Okay. I'm not that familiar with him. You gave him ginger nut biscuits. Nice. I get Miss Fox, and that's often how I am. If someone says something offensive, I do try to understand their motive. Are they trying to hurt people or not? But if people unintentionally do something offensive, then I think you actually have to acknowledge the damage you've done. Like if you never intended to alienate or offend a whole bunch of people, and that whole bunch of people said, no, that's fucked. That's unacceptable. I feel like you have to acknowledge that. If you don't acknowledge it, it's no good to say, I didn't mean to. Fuck that. If the people are telling you you fucked up, you need to take that on board. And that's what I did. When people who had never intended to offend said, no, 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 this is really bad, this is really negative, it's, you know, I was like, that was never meant to be the thing. But yeah. And on a much lighter note, Charlie asking, are ginger nut biscuits harder than they used to be? They were always fucking concrete. How could they get harder? They were the freakiest biscuits ever made. They're just like little slabs of concrete. Oh yeah, Lions Buddy, you're right. You dip them in tea. You meant to dip them in tea so they soften a little bit. But by themselves out of the pack, man, ginger nut biscuits will break your fucking teeth. They're very hard. I don't know why they're made that way, but they're like just little chunks of concrete. They're ridiculous biscuits, absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what the thinking behind ginger nuts is. It just has such unfortunate connotations, doesn't it? Ginger nuts. I tend to hear the bourbon and custard cream. I think it's hard to pick a favorite. I do like custard cream, but I think probably my favorite are the Kingston ones. I really like them. I reckon I go Kingston. I like classics like a Monte Carlo as well, or the ones you often get in cafes. They're like a shortbread biscuit with lemon cream in the middle. What do we usually call them? They have a name, don't they? I like them. That's a good quote from Brigham Young, Miss Foxification. He who takes offense when no offense is intended is a fool. He who takes offense when offense is intended is a greater fool. I'd also throw in, like, I feel like that quote comes from someone in the ruling classes, quite honestly. But yes. Tendo, don't go there. Fan of cat biscuits. That's wrong. So for Scotch fingers are okay. I don't mind Scotch fingers. They're very plain. I have to admit my weakness is for cream biscuits. Oh my God, they have these ones in the supermarkets. They're Oreos, which are okay, but not my favorite. But it's Oreos that have been dipped in chocolate. And so they're orders of magnitude better. Probably not my favorites, but they're pretty amazing. But yeah, I reckon Kingston's are probably my favorite. How do you describe them? They're like a coconutty biscuit with a chocolate cream in the middle. But yeah, get me like, you know, an Arnott's assorted creams, and I'll fucking go to town, man. I didn't get this fat from eating health foods, it's from eating biscuits and chips and pizza. Yeah, I mean, I get what that Brigham Young quote is saying. It's going, well, don't get offended when a person didn't intend to offend you. That's stupid. But also, if someone's trying to offend you, don't give them that power. Tell them, fuck them off. If you get offended when they want to offend you, they win. I get that, but it's also a ruling class fucking mentality. Oh, Raylene, geez, we depart there. You like Anzacs, I like Anzacs, but you want them to be as hard as ginger nuts. No, I like chewy Anzacs. Chewy Anzac biscuits are yummy. Okay, I'd rate Anzacs as probably my favorite non-cream biscuit, but we part company in terms of hardness, Raylene. You like them like ginger nuts, and I like them chewy. Hero Pixie, you just like chocolate chip. That's good. I like chocolate chip. Loogie, you work at Jimmy John's and you have cookies as big as your head. If they're as big as my head, they're very big. Wrestle with deep thought. I love that question. Who would I rather fuck, Abbott or Dutton? I'm going to say Abbott because I reckon Dutton would just lie there because he's weird. And Abbott, while being outwardly homophobic and super Catholic, I reckon he's the type who, once you sort of get him over, he'd get into wild, freaky shit. Take that out of, there's no context to take that out of. The context is, I said, I think Abbott would be into kinky sex and Dutton would be boring. Abbott wouldn't admit to the kinky sex, but I reckon totally. Abbott would be into being tied up and whipped. He's definitely into the flagellation. Definitely. Oh, blended Tim Tams. How could I forget Tim Tams? Classic Tim Tams. Very, very good. And of all the different flavors, I probably like about half the different flavors they do. But no, Tim Tams. Tim Tams are right up there, definitely. Ah, Bengalich, that's old school. Fuck you in the neck with a swastika. Yes. Safi, you wouldn't be able to work in a chocolate store, especially when you're... for a job I had years ago, I interviewed this chocolatier. He's a European guy who'd learned how to make chocolate in Europe and was working for a chocolate maker here in Australia. And he was, I guess he was in his 50s at the time, and he was really thin. And I said, okay, I have to ask the obvious question. You make chocolate, but you're really thin. And he's like, yeah, well, you know, I think chocolate's very special. I won't eat a whole tray of chocolate because that'll make me sick. But I eat chocolate regularly, but I have one piece and I'm satisfied with it. And I thought, well, yeah, no, dude, there's no way. I would not eat chocolate in moderation if I worked in a chocolate factory. WrestleMania, you like Sarah Hanson young, you like him thick. Yeah. Isn't she gay? I don't know. But yes. Lion Spider, that's evil. You like to tweet Abbott saying that if he listens carefully, you can hear Harold calling you out for a swim. Yep, okay. This is a story that a lot of people find weird, and some people have a conspiracy about it. One of our prime ministers, Harold Holt, while he was prime minister, went for a swim in this stretch of water out past Geelong and was never seen again, lost at sea. And because that's very weird for your prime minister to just go for a swim and not come back. Some people have conspiracies about it, but I was on a trip once and I saw the exact bit of water that he went for a swim in. It's like the park ranger said, yeah, he went, and it was like this really good, and there's a rip that would drag you straight out. You just have to look there and go, of course he fucking got dragged out to sea. Who the fuck would go for a swim here? This is obviously insanely dangerous. So after you laugh at the comments, a lot of people, one of the conspiracies was either a Russian or a Chinese sub was out there that Holt was a deep cover communist agent because he was Liberal Party, wasn't he? And he was a deep cover communist agent, and he went back to base. He swam out to sea and got in a Russian or Chinese sub and was never heard from again. There's no conspiracy. You see the stretch of water where he went missing, and it's immediately obvious why he went missing. Like, you look at the rip and you go, oh, fuck no. You go in there, you're getting sucked straight out to sea. It's all over. Yes, Mr. Voxication, I'm with you. Australian politics would prompt you to off yourself, fake your death. Now, Belinda, they never found his body. Again, I'm not joking. You see this water, you see a rip that's going straight out to sea. You can tell straight away anyone who went in there, the risk of you just getting dragged out to sea is so high. Yeah, they're never finding your body because you can fucking out past the continental shelf. Then you sink and the bloody sharks eat you. So if you got caught in a rip on surface, rips are really bad. This is the classic. People who don't know, although it doesn't, it sounds somewhat counterintuitive. If you get caught in a rip, the first thing to do is relax. Definitely don't swim against it. The idea is you've got to slowly swim across it until you get out of the force of it and then come in. A lot of people panic and try and swim against the rip, and it's impossible, and they get tired out, sink below the waves and drown. Rips are really dangerous. Wrestle with thought Jeff Buckley, he was just drunk, wasn't he? He drowned in a river. He swam out into a river when he was drunk. You don't go swimming when you're drunk, especially a river with a current. You get dragged away. No, but again, this rip where Harold Holt got dragged away, way fucking worse than a river, man. It's like really, it's a really rough bit of ocean. And yes, my personal favorite musical area, you erased it. There's a swimming pool at Glen Iris in Melbourne. It's the Harold Holt Swimming Centre. We had a prime minister who drowned, and we named a swimming pool after him. That's fucked up. I mean, I love it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's fucked up, though. It's really fucked up. Wrestler, you're saying Jeff Buckley was in a boat with heavy shoes? I'm not an expert. I just remember a report at the time of when Jeff Buckley died, an early report saying something. Yeah, he was swimming in the river and he was drunk. I don't know. I don't know exactly what happened to him. AngryAussie, yes, don't go past your waist. Stay between the flags. Very wise. I'm trying to think when the last time I was at a surf beach was. Probably, not that long ago. When my kids were little, we used to occasionally go to places out past Geelong, out on the surf coast, Airlie's Inlet, places like that. There are a couple of nice beaches, but again, yeah, they're very protected beaches, and I never went out deep. And I'm very conservative that way. Suffer. Did Harold Holt's secretary get fired for suggesting a swimming pool? I don't know when and where and why and how the swimming pool was named after Harold Holt, but it fucking cracks me up. It's like having a John F. Kennedy shooting range, an Azaria Chamberlain Memorial Camping Ground. It's really fucking weird. Safra, the apostles left. Yeah, I think only 2 of them have collapsed in recent years. This is a weird thing. For those who don't know, along the Great Ocean Road out past Geelong, out past Melbourne, really fantastic scenic drive. And there are some really spectacular rock formations. And one series of rock pillars, everything's eroded around them and just left these rock pillars sitting in shallow surf. They were known as the 12 Apostles, even though there weren't 12 of them. And another one on the same stretch of road was called London Bridge, because it was a naturally formed rock arch. There's an arch with a connecting thing over there. In the last 20 years, now these rock formations are millions of years old, right? They're just incredibly old formations. And just in the last 20 years, 2 of the apostles collapsed and the arch in London Bridge collapsed. So it's now just 2 spires. So for formations that have been there for millions of years, for 3 of them to collapse in a 10 to 20 year period is just so wild. Like, in geologic terms, that's like they collapsed at the exact same second. When you think those things have sat there for millions of years, and then 3 of these major rock formations collapsed in that 10 to 20 year period, that's just wild. That's unprecedented. That's, again, in geological terms, that's as if they collapsed at exactly the same second. It's absolutely wild. I'd love to get a geologist to talk about exactly how unlikely that is, because that's just a wildly unlikely scenario for those things to all go at the same time. Rest you have a friend who's trans and votes LNP. I mean, Caitlyn Jenner was an active advocate of Donald Trump and has now gone, oh, apparently I was wrong. And you go, no fucking joke, you privileged fucking idiot. at the time you did it. Everyone told you what a piece of shit you were and what a lying sack of shit Trump was. And but you were so cocooned in your wealth and privilege that you were sure that you were going to get what you wanted. Lo and behold, no. But yeah, for some people, some marginalized people, wealth and privilege are more important than respect of who they are. Because, I mean, let's get real. Even, okay, the majority of the LNP in Australia is more progressive than the majority of the Republican Party in the US. But in virtually all LNP circles, if you're trans, you're going to be treated like a freak. You've got a mental disorder. So the degree to which you have to sort of suppress who you are and go, wealth and privilege are more important to me than my own identity. It's like, yeah, okay, fucking suit yourself. You get what's coming. Well, that's interesting, Line Spider. You're saying they found more rock formations, more apostles under sea level. There was an article a week or two ago. I missed that. That is really interesting. Yeah, Russell, I thoroughly agree. Minority groups who vote right-wing, when those right-wing parties' central message to a large degree is the alienation of minorities. It does seem weird, but it's basically, look, people are different, I guess, man. Oh, God, that's harsh, Russell. It's like working in child welfare and being a fan of R. Kelly. Ouch. Ouch. Ooh, wow. That's... this justification, you want the evangelicals to abandon Trump. What Trump has done is prove beyond any doubt American evangelicals are a complete fraud. They do not believe their scripture. They do not hold their scripture sacred. They are solely about the pursuit of power, because there is no scripture that will defend them for supporting Trump, and there is endless scripture that will categorically, with no gray area at all, say people who would support someone as sick and fucked as Trump in the name of their religion, straight to hell. Straight to hell. They're just lucky that everything they say is a fucking fairy tale and hell doesn't exist. But no, that Trump has proved beyond doubt that American evangelicals are a complete fraud. Justin, have I seen House of Cards? I only ever watched the first season of House of Cards, so I definitely haven't seen the last season. Every now and then I'm tempted to go in and watch it because it's not bad. I mean, honestly, the British House of Cards is much better and goes for a much shorter time. But the American House of Cards was quite good, what I saw of it. But yeah, I would have to invest quite a bit of time to get to the final season of House of Cards, because I only ever watched the first season. Oh, Micro, I agree with you. Trump, definitely, he has the evangelicals. What's that? The Black Pastors of America. That's not a group I'm familiar with. And Pence. Hey, this is completely left field, and we weren't talking about it because you mentioned Pence. Because often when people say Trump should be impeached, that means we would get President Pence, who's pretty fucking scary, quite honestly. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's something dodgy in Pence as well. For instance, I don't think the Mueller investigation is looking at Pence at all. So I think if Trump did resign or was impeached, we would get a President Pence. But say there's also previously saying like, well, then if you got rid of Pence, under the American Constitution, the next in line is the Speaker of the House, who would have been Paul Ryan. But after the midterms, once the dust settles, I think what we're looking at is Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. I keep meaning to ask someone who knows American politics better than me. If Nancy Pelosi becomes Speaker of the House, does that literally make her third in line? Like Trump 1, Pence 2, Speaker 3. I feel like that's how it works, but I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. Sorry, I love that, Rest. Really saying Pence calls his wife mother, and he's probably got some really freaky Pornhub search history going on. Yes. Okay, Justin and Micah, you're confirming. Third is Speaker of the House. Safa, who's fourth? I think fourth is the Secretary of the Interior. This is bizarre that I know this arcana about American politics. I think fourth in line is Secretary of the Interior. Russell, I am not a fan of Pelosi. I absolutely less a fan of Schumer. The old guard of the Democrats needs to fuck off. They need to let new people in. But Ocasio-Cortez is supporting Pelosi. Although she did join some people in some sort of protest outside of Pelosi's office, but then she had a meeting with Pelosi, and it appears obvious Pelosi said, I'm going to cut you a deal and put you on some important committees if you support me. And now Ocasio-Cortez is supporting Pelosi. Russell, you reckon 2020 should be Donald Trump versus Flavor Flav? Look, that has something going for it. I mean, fuck, the lineup for 2020 could be super weird. It really could. Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe Clinton's obnoxious enough to put her head in the ring again. Bernie Sanders seems egocentric enough to do it. Sanders and Clinton should fuck off and let new people in, whether it's Beto O'Rourke or someone else. Or what's his name? Cory Booker obviously wants to run for president. Whether he wants to do it in 2020, I don't know. But Cory Booker obviously wants to run for president. So it's not just U.S. citizen. You have to be a natural-born U.S. You have to be a natural-born U.S. citizen. So I can't possibly be president. Russell, you're jumping right in with Beto O'Rourke versus Trump. That would be fucking interesting. That would be a really interesting one. Ooh, that's an interesting one, Mike. You don't reckon Booker will go for president, but maybe VP with Harris? Belinda, you reckon Michelle Obama? See, it could be wild. Oh, Jesus, Bury, we're absolutely on the same page. Pelosi, Schumer, Manchin, Feinstein, get rid of all the... Feinstein, I have more time for than the rest of them, but I really reckon the old guard Democrats have to step the fuck aside. Frank, you've done your faithful appearing in the last 5 minutes. Oh, shit. Bresel, that was awesome. You think there'll be a left candidate field like left field Brock Lesnar? Yes. Justin, that's an interesting one. Beto for president with Warren as VP. That is an interesting one. I'm honestly, God, I'm going to get sick of it. Like, it's still 2 years before the presidential election, and they're going to start seriously jockeying soon for who's going to run. Because, oh my God, the presidential campaign runs so long in America. Like our official election campaigns run for 4 to 6 weeks, whereas the official presidential campaign in the US is like 18 months or something. What's that result? But Gordy has him up for the F5. I don't even know what that means. Trump's the only president to take a stone cold stunner. Oh, Feinstein put a Confederate flag up once. Yeah, fuck. Okay, Manchin voted for a sexual predator for justice. Yeah, no, I don't reckon Feinstein should run. But yeah, I reckon it'll be interesting. I reckon it will be interesting who runs and what's going to happen with the Mueller investigation, because Trump's obviously a fucking criminal. And Mueller's already got so many convictions and guilty pleas. there's obviously going to be some move against Trump at some point. So I don't know if Trump's even going to run in 2020, if he's going to step aside, if he's going to resign, any of these things, if he's going to get prosecuted. I don't know. That whole thing's so weird. I have no idea what's going to happen. It's just very weird. Oh, Chris Hansen versus Donald Trump, Colbert versus Trump, Average Joe versus Trump. Russell, that'd be good. Chris Hansen doing a debate. You're right, Russell. Chris Hansen debating Donald Trump. Just take a seat, sir. Just take a seat. Just take a seat. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? I see that question. Can an Aussie be a senator? And Frank, I think you're right. Yes, a naturalized citizen of the US can hold any public office except president. So you can be in the cabinet for a president. You can be a senator. You can be congressperson. You can be in the cabinet for the president, but you can't be president. Yes, Miss Foxification. Didn't Kanye say he was going to run in 2020? That dude is unhinged. Micah, you reckon Romney's going to make a move again? Because Romney hates Trump, but Trump humiliated Romney. Does Romney want revenge? See, Russell, you've got your finger on the pulse there. All three dudes from ZZ Top versus Donald Trump. That's a big one. Yeah. See, I reckon you're posing the big think questions, Russell, with deep thought. That's right up there. Yeah, Margaret, that's the thing. Romney definitely despises Trump, but then Trump humiliated Romney by making Romney come crawling to him for a potential cabinet position, which didn't happen. But now Romney won the Senate race and he's back in the Senate. Yeah, who knows what Romney's long game is? It's weird. Romney's really pissed off he lost to Obama, basically. But yes. Belinda, you're a Subway. A guy asked for KKK bread. What the fuck is KKK bread? Is that really white bread? Really, really white bread? Oh, yes, Justin, that's interesting you say. Natural born US citizen means born as a US citizen, not born in the US, because John McCain was not born in the continental US. He was born, if I remember rightly, on an army base. So he was regarded as a natural US citizen, even though he wasn't born in the continental US. Frankie, you still reckon Jeb should get in? I don't know. I reckon Jeb is so sad after his campaign against Trump failed so badly. I don't know if Jeb wants to get back into politics. I think Jeb was made so sad by how badly his campaign against Trump failed that he doesn't want anything to do with it anymore. God, Venice, I was wondering what the hell you were saying there. Pussy licking in the background. Yes. Mimsy is ignoring us all and grooming in the back. Oh, God, yes, Russell. Was Jeb Bush saying, please clap, the saddest thing that ever happened ever in the history of anything? I mean, I never liked Jeb Bush, but that was possibly the saddest thing to ever happen in the history of everything. Please clap. Oh, yes, I think we can all agree that it should be Mimsy for PM. But hey, look at the time. The time is going, and I'm going to go. So I will round out with thanking you all for joining me. As always, it's been wonderful to spend time with you. We seem to have safely missed the rape apologist. You're probably all unaware of that, but a video I did ages ago about Louis C.K. Being a piece of shit was descended upon by a bunch of rape apologists saying he didn't do anything wrong. And I've been blocking them for the last week, and they seemed, I thought we might get some trolls tonight, but no trolls. We just had a really good conversation. So thank you all for your company. It's been great. I'll probably do it again before the end of the week, normally on Thursday night. Make 1 or 2 pre-recorded videos as well. So you all look after yourselves. Hope to see you again soon. And Mimsy cares not for what we are doing. But I will say bye for now. So take care and bye-bye.